Welcome back, friends. I'm Ed Harrold, your fearless leader, and today I'm joined with the amazing Sara Banta. And I became aware of Sara's amazing work through my wife's partner company, Our Renegade, which is doing some amazing work with continuing education with nurses. And Sara's work just fits right in there in the model for a healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. So welcome, Sara.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for being here.
Yeah, you're a wealth of wisdom. You're a real American treasure, and I know our audience is going to love you. So before we begin, ladies and gentlemen, would it be possible, would the ego allow us just to take 2 minutes to park it right here, right now, to slow down the mind, enter the heart, enter the gut, and just begin to become one with your higher self, the finest parts of what you're carrying around with you? So if you could, place your feet firmly down onto the earth and feel the grounding rods of your feet drawing your attention down into your spine. And as that occurs, you'll notice your chest opens and your heart relaxes. And as you inhale through your nose, 3 places to focus on. Number 1, relax your eyes. Number 2, relax your jaw. And number 3, soften the solar plex region of your body, allowing the thoracic diaphragm to go down. So if you wish, close your eyes. Relax your eyes and jaw, soften the upper abdomen where we hold a lot of acidity and tension, and just allow the vertical inhale to come down into your body, rise up into your chest. What does that feel like? And then on the exhale, 3 places we can focus on. When you begin your exhale, gently draw up on your buttock, squeeze your lower abdominals back, securing your core, and then allow a soft ocean sound to form from the yoga schools in the epiglottis of the throat. And as you lengthen your exhale, move deeper into your mind. As you slow your inhale, stabilize the mental world as you perceive it. And as you exhale, relax the emotional world that we all live in. And as an athlete, as a human being, begin to smooth the muscles out that you're using to allow life to come into your body and then life to come out of your body. And for the last several rounds, just allow a brief pause. So when the inhale is complete, hold several seconds, stop and blank your mind. And as the exhale completes, hold out and stop and blank your mind. And then when you're ready, begin to deepen your breath. And when you're ready to leave the meditation, allow your eyes to open. Re-engage wherever you may be on earth. Welcome.
Love it. I feel better already.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for playing along. So we were talking earlier about maybe some of the things we could talk about. And gosh, what first came to me was the thyroid. You know, we don't really look at the thyroid as a place of any great importance. Then as we begin to look deeper into the thyroid, there's so much going on there that can help us be more vibrant, clear in the head, better night's sleep, better workouts. I know that you work with your clients with the thyroid. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, Sara?
Yeah, I was talking to a client yesterday, and she can't understand why she's put on so much weight over the last few years. And she intermittent fasts and she does all the things. And I said, look, it's your stress. You carry the stress of your parents and your kids and your husband and the financial situation. And that cortisol goes up. Cortisol is a fat storing hormone. and the thyroid shuts down. So here we go with the thyroid. It is responsible for your metabolism, for your fat burning, for controlling your gonads and your sex hormones. So your period, you might lose your menstrual cycle if you're in a really stressful state. Your body doesn't know if you are fighting with your husband or if you're being chased by a tiger or facing a 6-month famine. It just knows it's stressed. And the thyroid's responsible for producing the hormones T4 and T3, which stand for tyrosine and 4 and 3 molecules of iodine. They regulate your metabolism and energy levels. And when the cortisol is high, it disrupts this delicate balance. High cortisol levels slow down that conversion from T4 to T3. T4 is inactive. It doesn't really do anything until it converts to T3. So if you take nothing more from this talk, get a blood test and make sure your doctor is testing free T3 and reverse T3. We'll get into what those are, but most doctors only test T4. Tells you nothing. Because if it's not converting, or if it's converting, it could be a completely different story. So when you are not converting, you're going to have low energy, weight gain, and that sluggish feeling. What's worse is the high cortisol can make your cells less sensitive to thyroid hormones. So even if your blood work is normal, your body might not be using those hormones effectively, which means your metabolism takes a hit. It's like having a full tank of gas, but a clogged fuel tank or line that the engine can't perform. The chronic stress also affects our gut. And you hear a lot about gut health. And yeah, processed foods causes leaky gut, and so do medications, but so does stress. Stress isn't putting anything in your mouth, but it's going to affect your gut health. And that has a domino effect on your thyroid. An imbalanced gut can increase inflammation, causing that leaky gut, leading to an autoimmune response that can trigger or worsen thyroid issues like Hashimoto's or hypothyroidism. And then let's not forget the stress eating cycle. So when your stress is high, what do you tend to eat? You like the processed food snacks that are high in fat, high in sugar, together with that great salt, all those things. It's like a bomb going off in your head. And this leads to blood sugar spikes, insulin resistance, and then you'll want more sugar later because you're on this roller coaster now of blood sugar. So what do you do about it? Number one, you'll want to prioritize sleep. You want to do your breath work like you talk about, going for walks with your dog. I was talking to a young 20-year-old who is coming out of an eating disorder, and she's trying to manage her stress. And just on her own, she says, Sarah, I go out for a walk for like 5 minutes and I feel my whole body calm down. And I said, amazing. Yes, just a 10-minute walk will lower your cortisol. And it's something that I incorporate almost every day with my dogs. And it's amazing, the mind shift, because also, what are you doing when you're walking? You're slowing your breath down. So all of these things are connected. But let's look at the hypothalamus-pituitary and thyroid. Okay, so your thyroid does not work by itself. It's a part of this bigger picture, the HPT, the hypothalamus-pituitary-thyroid axis, which is also connected to the hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal axis. When stress levels rise and cortisol or adrenal stressors or hormones flood the system, the HPT axis reacts by converting T4, that inactive thyroid hormone, which is supposed to go to free T3, it actually goes to reverse T3. What does this do? Built-in survival mechanism. It says, I'm going to be facing a famine or a tiger or a financial situation. I'm going to slow down my metabolism regardless of what you eat or don't eat, or exercise or don't exercise, and drags your energy levels down. And then you're going to have this propensity to actually put on weight around your belly. Why around your belly? Because if we're going to be attacked by a tiger, we better protect those expensive organs, the liver, the kidneys, the gut. We don't care about our arms so much, or our legs. That's where you get the flat butt and your body starts eating away at its muscles, but then putting on the fat around the midsection. So this is that reverse T3. So stress is literally changing the chemicals in your body. And then it doesn't just mess with your thyroid, it throws off your entire system, where it leads to inflammation, oxidative stress, both which affect the brain and the gut. And guess what? The gut, the liver, and the kidneys are where T4 convert that T3 into T3. This is why liver health is so important for your overall stress and thyroid and everything. And we have outside factors in this modern world that have hijacked our liver health. Our livers are just backed up from the artificial sweeteners, the chemicals, the air pollution, the EMFs, our 5G, our cell phones, the social media, all of that stuff is backing up our liver, and our liver's like, I can't do anymore. So of course, it's not going to be able to convert that T4 into T3, so that you don't have that metabolism and thyroid health. And then guess what else? Your liver is not just an organ that handles detoxification. It holds the emotions of anger and frustration. So here we are, we're trying to do our breath work to breathe through our problems. But if your liver's so backed up and you've got so much stored anger and frustration, it's going to be difficult to do. So it will further interfere with that T4 to T3 conversion and affect your mood. So it's a double whammy that makes you feel even worse, perpetuating the cycle of stress and low thyroid function. And then the adrenals. So the adrenals sit right on top of the kidneys. And when your adrenals are constantly pumping out those stress hormones, that cortisol, your kidneys actually get inflamed to hold them up. And that inflammation might cause that water retention, the edema that you're experiencing. And this is also going to impact that conversion from T4 to T3. And so this is another layer of what stress is doing to your system. And your kidneys store the fear emotions. Have we not been like induced into this fear mindset over the last 5 years? And that's going to affect your stress levels as well. Then this all compounds this condition called thyrostress. So this is an emotional state where you're apprehensive, you're discomfortable, you have low mood because you don't know how to get out of this cycle. You know, when you get sick with the cold or the flu, you go, yeah, I don't feel good, but it's going to be gone in 5 days and I'll be fine. But this thyrostress is this hopelessness that I'm never going to figure out how to get out of this dump where I have no energy, and the unexplained inflammation and weight gain and brain fog are not going away. And my doctor says I'm normal because he's only testing my T4 and TSH. This is where there are answers, but this is also, so we've talked about the thyroid, we've talked about the adrenals, but let's talk about your sex hormones. That HPT axis also affects your HPG axis, your gonads, your sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Testosterone is in the tank for men and women. Men cannot build that muscle. We're getting that belly fat. Women can't have regular periods. They can't have menstrual cycles without pain. They can't have a smooth transition into menopause anymore. There's so many symptoms because our hormones are out of whack. And this is going to contribute to anxiety, irritability. And then people just say, oh, well, that's just part of getting older. That's just part of the hormones. Yeah, you're supposed to gain weight when you enter menopause. No, you're not. And you don't have to. These are all things you can reverse. And unfortunately, many people are misdiagnosed with depression and put on the medications or like SSRIs, and they really have thyroid issues. So if you are on an antidepressant, go get a full thyroid panel, because I bet your free T3 is low and your reverse T3, your stress hormones, are high. Because the other thing is the antidepressants aren't working for people. I just did a podcast on the fact that not only do they not work any better than a placebo, but they actually can trigger other long-term diseases like bipolar and suicide and other things. And if you just fixed your thyroid, you'd have the energy, not just in your body to burn fat and lose weight, but in your brain to think and have mental clarity and creativity and alleviate that stress.
Mhm.
So these are the things to look out for. The good news, there's tools to change this, to get out of this slump, to see a difference in your physical body and your brain, and incorporate, of course, the breathing. But you also want to look at the foundation, your nutrition, your sleep, supplements that really help. Of course, moving the body, both in an exercise way where you're doing strength training, but also that walking to just lower that cortisol.
See, this is why I had you on. I mean, that was just a masterclass. That was a weekend program in a few minutes about how to help your body, help you stall aging, push away high inflammatory markers, focus your attention states in your head, get out of your own way, and start to smile and move again.
Yeah. I love that you say get out of your own way, because that is something that our society today is suffering from more than ever, because it's been proven that when you start helping others and you start
Right.
not focusing on you, you become happier. But I when we talk about what in our modern day lifestyle has really made this a lot worse is, number one, our food system. It's been hijacked. 70% of our food is processed food full of artificial sweeteners, artificial ingredients, chemicals. I also just did a podcast on the fact that the number one cause of obesity in children is not the calories, it's the chemicals. The chemicals are causing obesity. And that's in our food system, our water and our air and all of that. When we get back to real, whole, organic food, we're eliminating a lot of that, because a lot of these toxins are affecting our liver. They're backing up our liver, and that's going to increase the anger hormone, the anger, frustration, and the inhibiting the conversion of the thyroid hormones to the active thyroid hormones. And the liver is also where you convert or metabolize fat and protein. If your liver's backed up and you're on a high fat diet, it's not going to work. The fat's going to be stored as fat. Your protein's not going to be broken down into those amino acids to be then building your muscles and building your hair and making your skin look great. So you want to focus on a diet full of ideally wild animal protein. Why do I say wild animal protein? Bison, venison, elk, Cornish game hen, lamb, wild fish, because our conventional food system, that chicken and conventional beef, they're in crowded environments, which make their proteins called misfolded, which are called amyloid proteins. Those amyloid proteins, the liver cannot break apart. They actually get deposited in places like the brain, leading to Alzheimer's and dementia, but they don't even get to the muscles and to the organs and to do all the work. They actually can disrupt the gut too. So you want to try to focus on that wild animal protein. Now, chicken 30 years ago, totally fine. Wasn't affected like it was today. It's not the chicken's fault. It's not the cow's fault. So focus on that. And organic vegetables. I have a food guide, accelerated food guide on my website that lists out all of the foods that really help with liver health, help with, improving your thyroid health, also taking away that excess stress that food can put on your body. So we're not just talking about stress from the outside world, or like I said, my financial issues or my children having issues. Stress can be on what inside your body's dealing with, like a exposure to a virus or the fact that the liver can't do its job. So diet is paramount. Real food, I don't care if it's a low carb or a high carb diet. Real organic food. Organic food is just food from 50 years ago before it was adulterated, right? Then you can focus on supplements. You know, when I first went to my practitioner and I was at my rock bottom, he goes, I can't believe you had the energy to walk into my office. Your whole system is shut down. And he said, we're going to give you the supplements to give you a foundation. And then we're going to work on your lifestyle and your stress and all of this. Because if you don't have the building blocks to hold you up, you have nothing to work with. So number one is iodine. And iodine, we are in a high health crisis of iodine deficiency. Iodine deficiency is the number one cause for depression. Iodine deficiency is the number one cause for mitochondrial failure. Mitochondria are the brains or the powerhouses of our cells, and we are only as healthy as our cells. So when our cells are dying, we die. As long as we keep our mitochondria healthy, it will live forever, right? So iodine is that basic number one thing that you need for mitochondrial health. You need iodine inside the cell to increase ATP, true cellular energy per mitochondria. So the more iodine you have, the more energy your cells have. This is not coming from coffee or the Monster drink. This is coming from your cells. You need iodine on the cell membrane. And the membrane is the brain of the cell that lets all those toxins that we were talking about get out and the nutrients from our food get in. The nutrients from our food don't do us any good unless they can actually get into the cells. Well, you have to have a cell membrane made up of healthy fat and iodine. It's called an iodolipid value, iodine fat value. And that will make the cell membrane flexible to allow the nutrients in and the toxins out. You need iodine outside the cell to cleanse the blood. It's antiviral, antibacterial, antifungal, antiparasitic, so the liver can do its job. You also need iodine inside the liver to help with the hormone balance, your estrogen, progesterone balance, help with that estrogen dominance that you might be experiencing. You need iodine for that 3 and 4 molecules of iodine in the T3 and T4 of the thyroid hormones. You will not have thyroid hormones without iodine, right? It's like, how do you make lemonade without water? You need that water to make lemonade. You can't just squeeze a lemon. So the iodine is needed for the metabolism, cellular health, energy, thyroid health, depression. But this is where we get very specific in the type of iodine. Acceleradine iodine is the only iodine I'll use. It is monoatomic, meaning one molecule of iodine. Go back to chemistry class, it's I-, which means that it's going in and it's looking for all of the iodine receptor sites throughout your whole body, not just your thyroid, and it has nearly 100% bioavailability. Because with most iodine supplements, they're diatomic. They're attached to another molecule that the body has to break apart to use, but your body's so weak, it's not going to have much energy to do that. So you really only get about 10 to 20% absorption. So with the acceleradine iodine, it's also enhanced with scalar frequencies, which help with the efficacy, help detox the cells even more efficiently from all of the toxins and feed the thyroid and make sure that when all your cells are saturated with iodine, the toxins coming in don't have a place to take hold within those iodine receptor sites, because a lot of toxins, if there's no iodine there, they'll fill the iodine receptor site and then you're stuck. And that's going to cause inflammation, chronic disease, and all the things. Next would be accelerated thyroid. So a thyroid glandular supplement, all natural, but we add Ayurvedic herbs that help with thyroid nodules, helping with water retention, helping support thyroid health, adrenal health, and cortisol management. when you take Accelerdyne, iodine, and accelerated thyroid together, you're happy. The stress comes down. You can breathe. So just like we did the breathing exercise in the beginning, you'll actually feel a deeper breath, a deeper connection to your higher self. Because guess what is the bridge from your body to your brain? The thyroid, right? You cannot have a connection to your higher self without a healthy thyroid. This is the bridge to your body from your higher self. So the accelerated thyroid helps balance the hormones, detox the body of the heavy metals and the toxins, help with stress, help with menstrual cycles, because remember, our hormones are attached to our thyroid. So those two, but then when I mentioned the liver health, you've got to address your liver health for everything, whether it's talking about energy or fat burning or disease, chronic disease. You are going to have chronic disease if you do not address your liver. And over 45% of the United States adults has fatty liver disease. 25% of our children have fatty liver disease, which used to be a disease only for alcoholics. Our children are not drinking alcohol. Something has gone wrong, and our livers have been hijacked. It is not an option to not detox your liver. So we have come out with accelerated liver care. And even me, I eat clean. I do not drink alcohol. I work out every day. I focus on my sleep. I do all the right things. But because of this environment, because of the pandemic, because of the spike protein, because of bad supplements out there that can actually disrupt your liver as well, my liver enzymes were through the roof last fall. They were at 700. They're supposed to be at 25 or below. Not good. My accelerated liver care brought them down within 2.5 weeks. It was unbelievable. I actually shocked myself. But this supplement is a blend of 13 rare herbs that you've never heard of, and some that you have heard of, like tuca and milk thistle, but that are known to not just detox the liver, but to regenerate the liver, support the liver, help with the immune system, help increase ATP and energy, and it's enhanced with scalar frequencies to open up the meridians to your gallbladder and your liver, so that the herbs know where to go when you're taking it. It has been fantastic. It's also that hidden key to fat loss. When you've done everything else, but you haven't addressed your liver, this can help with that, because it's going to help with your digestion of the fats, the carbohydrates, and the protein. So your body's using your fuel properly. Fuel doesn't do any good unless it's converted into energy, right? So you've got to make sure that you close that chasm between intaking of the fuel and the energy produced.
Oh yeah. That was just so deep, but also like we can all understand this, these simple little things that we can do to start to turn our body back on, to turn our inflammatory markers down, to turn our circulation and alkalinity up. We started with the thyroid, and how does breathing have anything to do with that? Well, the ancients knew if they breathe with the ujjayi breathing or the ocean sound, they're going to vibrate their thyroid. So it's not hyper or hypo. The ancients knew that if they were taking, anywhere between 6 to 8 breaths per minute, the HPA access to the brain would tone down with the amygdala, and there'd be less stress and fear, and you'd be more in your forebrain region, making conscious choices, responding to the moment in a fresh mode rather than a reactionary mode of what is in our subconscious, in our hindbrain. When you start to think about drawing up on the buttock muscle and drawing up on the sphincter muscle, when you begin to exhale, what's happening here is you're bringing blood flow to the gonads, to the genitalia, to the pelvic floor, areas of the body that get numb as we age, and we begin to lose our grounding rods that are so available to the brain to feel more balance in your corpus callosum and in your vestibular system of the vibration of your ears. When you relax and strengthen this diaphragm, here's your kidneys and adrenals and your liver and gallbladder getting an amazing massage on the inhale, which is so what you like massage? Well, you can do it to yourself just by strengthening the efficiency and range of motion and strength of your diaphragm muscles. So there's so many ways that this weaves so perfectly together so that we can reclaim our mind, reclaim our body, and reclaim our joy.
Oh, wow. I love that. I need to incorporate that in my teachings. But
I love when you were talking about food. And I think folks need to realize you're on an experiment. You're living your life. You are the laboratory. You are also the scientist, and you're also peer review. So when you eat something, how do you feel after you eat?
Right.
That feeling has information in it that's unique to you based on where you are in your life, your age, your dynamic, your stress level, your health level. Notice how you feel after you eat certain, maybe you even take a food journal and you write down, I eat this such and such a day. And notice how you feel afterwards, because you are a research project and you are the scientist and you're reviewing this. You're a three-dimensional human being in a kind of woo-woo way. So think about that.
I love it because, I have one of my best friends last night. She went to a organic farm and she had this beautiful salad with salmon and it was over kale and some other things. And she goes, I don't understand. I'm so bloated this morning. And well, kale has sulfur and oxalates in it. And I talk about those and they can be the healthy, wrong vegetables for you. Now, what you just said really hits home because it's not just that you never can eat these foods ever again. It's your current state of health. Mm-hmm. Are you stressed? Because if you're stressed, there's a reason that people lose their appetite when they're stressed. The body needs to go run from a tiger. So it needs its blood flow in its arms and its legs and not into its gut for rest and digest. There's a reason they call it that. But if you're fighting a virus, there's a different mechanism. Your digestion's off. You have to be more careful with your food choices. And if you're supercharged and you're in a great healthy spot, you can handle foods that you can't always handle. So it does change. It's, with my accelerated food guide, I list out the foods that are green light for most people all the time, regardless of their state of health. Then there's the yellow spot, the yellow coated ones where, well, if you're feeling good and you're in a good spot, then you can probably handle these. If not, stay away from them, or maybe just have them when you go out to a restaurant and you have no other option. And then the red foods where they're not good for most people most of the time. So try to stay away from them. And you will see your inflammation go down, your mind work better. And Ed, I honestly believe most people are running around just numb to their body's signals, just like you were talking about. They don't even know how to feel it. And not until they take things away or be on somewhat of an elimination diet and take away the processed foods, the alcohol, the sodas, and start eating cleaner. And then they have that one meal out or the processed foods, and then they feel horrible because they didn't know what it felt like before because they feel horrible all the time. And then that's their normal. Yeah. You don't want to be normal. You want to be optimal.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So this whole numbing, this whole I don't want to feel, it's kind of impossible while you're in a body. So, I think we're all really here to feel first. What am I interested in? Pleasure. What am I not interested in? Pain. Trying to find balance there. And then bringing that felt sense up to the ticker tape of thoughts that help keep me in alignment when resistance or turbulence from things that I'm not expecting occur.
Yeah. I mean, it's really true. On a subconscious level, you're taking the information in and you don't know what you're feeling, what you're not feeling, but you're just trying to get moving forward. The amount of people over the last few years who literally cannot get out of the fog and the depression. Um, it's also partly due to these outside environmental factors that literally are dumbing down our brain and putting those toxins in our brain and causing brain fog, causing the depression. And we just are trying to just get out of bed and get through the day. What happens if you could actually jump out of bed and
Right.
just feel amazing and actually super excited about getting up and starting the day? I have not used an alarm clock in
Right.
4 years. I get up, I hop out of bed 4:30 or 5 in the morning.
I know. I see your emails. It's awesome. I'm like, go girl.
And that morning time is my favorite time of day because it's me and my dog, my cup of coffee, and I get to quiet my mind. I get to envision what I want my day to be like. I play it out. I manifest all of these amazing things that are going to happen, whether it's in business or with my kids or my husband or my dog. And just envision and be more creative, and that way that brain fog, the numbness is gone, and you're more apt to feel and enjoy and be present in the moment. Growing up, I type A personality. It was all about, okay, where am I going to go to college? What am I going to do? What are my goals? But I didn't enjoy the journey until life smacks you in the face. And I had a rock bottom with my health issues, and my son was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 9. That's what taught me, like, make sure you're holding on to this moment, enjoying this moment. Well, you can't enjoy this moment if you've got all of these roadblocks that are not letting the signals inside your body to communicate with each other, your cells to communicate with each other. You've got these chemicals and artificial sweeteners and EMFs that are just rattling your brain and disrupting the communication. It's like talking on the cell phone in a tunnel. You can't hear it, right? So you need to clear out all those cobwebs, all of that interference, so your body's communicating to each other. The cells are communicating. Your brain, your higher self, is communicating with your body through your thyroid. And that is going to alleviate so much stress. The breathing exercises are magic. And they're another piece to this puzzle. You can't just do one thing. I love it when people say, is there just one pill I can take? No, there's not. You've got to do the work. You can take a couple supplements. You got to eat the right food. You got to start moving your body. And you've got to focus on your sleep.
So one of the things I love what you're speaking about really is turning the body back on. It's stalling aging, having that youthful fire in your body. I mean, an organic fire. I don't mean high energy crash. I don't mean that. I mean, we're helping the body, the genes of the body, turn back on through supplements, exercise, meditation, breath, whatever you're doing. And why is that? Because the more energy that we have at any given moment, the higher awareness we're going to have and the choosing mind about how I'm going to show up in this moment.
Yes. And it's cellular energy. So when you are breathing, when you are doing all the things we're talking about, you are increasing that ATP. Like I said, it all comes down to your cellular energy, your mitochondrial health. And even through breath work, through the exercise, through the things that are not supplements or food, those increase that cellular energy. And that makes you more aware, more focused, more present.
That's beautiful. The more we get back to the body, and we give ourselves little victories. I think we missed the little victories. Like every morning when your eyes open in bed, that's a victory, because there's thousands of people this morning on the earth whose eyes aren't going to open. I don't know why. They're just not. Your eyes have opened. So you are given an opportunity to go out and serve yourself through the collective. And when you get out of bed and you can walk to the bathroom, you're already ahead of most of the world in regard to my fingers work, my feet work. I have the ability to go to the sink and put fresh H2O on the molecules of my face. And then you take the shower and you get all this warm water that opens up all your pores and you can breathe again. There's all these little victories that I think, the ego and technology and all this fast moving stuff, it's taken away from just the simple little things from nature that remind us that life is amazing. There is no ordinary moments. Everything is amazing. It's all around us and we're missing it.
Yeah. The other day, I went to go work out in the morning and I was kind of feeling tired, and I get on the rowing machine almost every day as a warm up. And my daughter right now has a hurt back and she rows for USC. So she's not rowing right now and she's suffering and having to go through rehab and all of that. And I said to myself, I'm grateful that I can actually get on this rowing machine. My daughter can't, right? And, or I'm under in my shower and I have hot water. Okay, so if I, you just remind yourself of all of these things you're grateful for. We have a family group chat of my 3 kids and my husband and me. And every morning I will write down the things I'm grateful for. And then I'll ask everyone else, what are you grateful for? Because when you do that, your mindset is in gratitude. It's not in the complaints of what I don't have that day. That will shift your stress. That will shift your mindset for the whole day.
So many people, like clients I work with and people teams and things, they've learned to live and ignore pain. And, they can do it. They just ignore this pain as long as they can. They can procrastinate, which is never a good thing. But I noticed that it's very difficult. It's just, for lack of a better term, thin-skinned. Anything can stress them out. Your body is using so much energy just to keep you moving and ignoring this pain that you're draining all of these other vital things that can bring you joy in life, that can bring you happiness in your life. Pain is not just showing up on your doorstep. It is a master teacher. It's ringing your doorbell, and eventually you're going to have to answer this door. So you can ignore it as long as you want, but as long as you're in pain, you're going to miss the bliss.
Yes. And that's the way dopamine works in the body. Pain versus pleasure. Because if you only had pleasure, then your level of dopamine will lower as your normal, right? So that's why, taking a little cocaine, you're on a nice high, but then next time it's going to drop you down to that pain level. And so you're going to need more cocaine the next time to get up to that level again. And then it creates that pain, pleasure, teeter-totter. So we can't recognize pleasure without the struggle. And I always tell my kids, gosh, I love this challenge you're going through. Like with my daughter with her back, I'm like, I can't wait to see what God is going to show you through this. There's something amazing you're going to learn. He's teaching you to strengthen a muscle in your body that you need for something in the future.
What's funny about injuries is that, the ego flips out because you can't do what you were normally doing.
Right.
And what happens is the universe or God, spirit, soul gets your attention. It's been trying to get your attention probably for weeks, but you ignored it. So now you have this injury. And what happens? Well, you have to feel more. What does that mean? You have to slow down a little bit to get through what you were doing. And in that slowing down of the normal pace, you begin to feel more. And as you begin to feel more, on some intuitive kind of weird way, the body begins to heal again on its own.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. It's all of these factors together to bring the body present, calm it down, take away the stress, and you will truly feel like a new human being.
You know, folks like us that have been around for a little while, you know, after a while, you begin to see that regardless of how things show up in your life, they've all come to help. Everything in your life is happening for your benefit. And it's much beyond anything the logical mind can kind of break down your whys or your hows. It's such a deep rabbit hole. And when you can begin to see that everything in your life is happening for your benefit, even when you're suffering, then you begin to see, wow, I'm
Yeah.
really involved in something bigger than I could ever comprehend. So let's just buckle up and get through this.
Yes. And get out of your own way. It's not
Definitely.
about you. It's
Yeah.
about the bigger purpose. Um,
And the work you're doing, you know, it's all about helping the collective. It's about creating better households. It's about creating better communities. It's about creating harmony in human beings who might not know each other, but we still have the ability to just give a little smile. And then
yeah,
we know that everything's okay.
absolutely. I love this.
So in the show notes, we're going to have a whole bunch of ways that people can contact you, Sarah. You do stuff online throughout the world.
I have my podcast, Accelerated Health with Sara Banta. It's on every podcast outlet. I have my free group coaching. It's free. There's no downside in joining it on Telegram. It's uncensored, which is even better. And I post daily and you can ask your questions. You're also part of an amazing supportive group. So everyone gives their feedback. You'll hear other people's stories. Honestly, it feeds my soul selfishly. And then I make sure you join my email list because I put out emails with valuable information every week. And you can also chat with me through the website, get a personalized protocol of supplements for your situation. If you're overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, I can personally put together a supplement protocol for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, just look at these show notes right below here. There's Sarah's contact information. Go pull the trigger right now. It's going to take you 30 seconds and you're going to be on your way to your finest life, your best vision of yourself. So pull the trigger. I know you're going to love what you get from Sarah. So thanks for being our guest today, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Thank you so much. And everybody, until next time, go be great.